Macro the Science Bro.
Macro Science Bro.
Macro the Science Bro.
Hello, boys and girls. I am Dr. Macro, and I'm here once again to answer the most important questions of science. What is a Smash Killer? The Super Smash Bros. Franchise has lasted a long time, and there are many games that have tried to usurp the throne. But almost every game has tragically passed away. But why? Some games tried simply copying the mechanics of the game. Other games tried using the power of SpongeBob or Batman. It just wasn't enough. However, there has been one anomaly. A game that has lasted 10 years and is even poised to have a sequel. Rivals of Aether. So what gives? Why has this game lasted while others have failed? Furries. It's furries.
Macro the Science Bro.
Yo, this that quarter life crisis over borderline trauma that control my life more than I control my life. Damn near mortified. I just got demoralized. I don't know my purpose, so I might as well enjoy the ride. Yo.
Speaking of anthropomorphic animals in a platform fighter, let's talk about anthropomorphic animals in a platformer. Pretty good segue, I know. In today's sponsor, Nico Dorico, The Magical World. Nico Dorico is a platformer that reminds me of some of the classics from my childhood. God, I'm old. To save your island from the villainous Grimbald, Nico and Luna have to navigate through 7 different worlds and help their animal friends along the way. These animal friends can grant you abilities and can even be ridden like a steed. And the music has that classic platformer vibe from legendary composer David Wise. No, yeah, David Wise was cooking with this one. My favorite part about this game is that it can be played as a couch co-op adventure. So my wife and I can play together. And it's made for all ages. So you can play with your kids, your little cousin, your grandma. Anyone can play Nico Dorico. So if you want to play an all-new take on the classic platform genre, then click the link in the description down below to play Nico Dorico today on Nintendo Switch, duh, Xbox Series X and S, and PS5. Now back to the other anthropomorphic animals. It's a good segue. I think it's a good segue. Rivals of Aether II is a new indie platform fighting game developed by Aether Studios, who also partnered with Off-Brand Gaming, which if you didn't know is Ludwig's gaming company. Yeah, that Ludwig. It's the sequel to the game Rivals of Aether, which is also a platform fighting game that came out almost a decade ago, and was a little bit more of a low-budget indie game, as the graphics of that game is essentially 2D pixel art. So back then, even with a limited budget, they made a niche platform fighting game with a strong and loyal fan base. Sure, it wasn't ever a huge game, but Aether Studios consistently held tournaments and supported the game with waves of new original fighters, and even collaborated with other indie games to add fighters like Ori and Shovel Knight. Smash Bros only made him an assist trophy, so take that, Nintendo. So after many years, it was finally time to see if they could level up and make a sequel. So first, Aether Studios announced their Kickstarter campaign to make the sequel, and they raised just over $1 million, far exceeding their goal. So with a much bigger budget and the backing of Ludwig's game company, Rivals of Aether II is here, and it's very promising. Oh yeah, there is a story, so let me quickly explain that like super fast. Water, earth, fire, air. The 4 nations lived together in harmony until the Fire Nation attacked. Wait, no, that can't be right. That just sounds like the Avatar. No, it's right. Well, there's 4 main factions. There's the Fire Nation, the Fire Capital, and they want to expand their influence over the lands of Aether. The Air Armada made a bunch of airships to defend against the Fire Capital. The Merchant Port, where most of the water-type creatures come from, they're just chillin' being merchants, and the forest is separated from everyone by a huge rock wall. The leaders and guardians of each faction end up being the main rivals of Aether, fighting each other or just talking it out, and eventually they set aside their differences to fight these evil creatures growing from deep within. Peace through a common enemy. And that's literally where the main story ended in the first game. All of our main rivals teamed up together underground. I obviously skipped a lot of lore, but if you want more lore, I'll link Bowler's lore video, as it's way more in depth. It's like an hour. Anyways, now that you know how Rivals of Aether 2 came to exist, let's learn how to play the game, shall we? This is a platform fighter, so your goal is to ring out your opponents. The more damage they have, the further they'll be knocked back. It's Smash Bros 101. Every character has regular attacks, which are usually faster but weaker hits, strong attacks that are usually slower but more powerful and good for KOs, and special attacks that are very unique between each character. But almost everyone's up special will grant them an extra movement option to recover on stage. So in Rivals of Aether 1, there weren't any ledges to grab, shields to block, and you also couldn't grab opponents either. It was mostly because they didn't have a budget to make all those animations, but in this game, you can. This means you can have more options defensively with your shields, on top of also being able to air dodge and dodge on the ground. Shields can be countered with grabs, but you can also just grab to start combos, or just get enemies off of you. And the ledge can now be grabbed, which makes recovering a lot easier, especially when you pair it with wall jumping. And also that means that you can ledge guard. Overall, this game really does play a lot like Smash Bros. More specifically, Project M, which is a popular Super Smash Bros. Brawl mod. So fans of Smash will enjoy these more familiar mechanics, but there's a lot that is different, which will be discussed later. But now, let's talk about the... At launch, there's 10 playable characters, 8 of which are returning fighters from the first game, and 2 that are brand new. Let's quickly go over each. Zetterburn. Zetterburn is the Spacey of this game, like Fox or Wolf. His entire kit revolves around putting his opponents on fire, which makes them take more damage from his strong attacks. He's also probably the rightful heir to the fire capital, and not the evil elephant in the room. Speaking of which, Loxodont. Loxodont is a new character. He's a heavyweight that plays kinda like King Dedede. He maybe probably definitely killed Zetterburn's dad and usurped the throne, making him the evil Fire King. So he's the big baddie of the game. Forsburn. Forsburn goes invisible in his smokes and makes clones. Truly the mirage of fighting games.
You got bamboozled, look at you.
He's the adoptive brother of Zetterburn, and he was banished after being framed for killing their dad. He's like the Scar to Zetterburn's Mufasa, but like not actually evil. Clarin. Clarin is the sword fighter of this game, and plays a lot like Marth, even having a tipper mechanic where she does more damage if you hit enemies on the tip, just the tip. She's from the future and was sent there to kill Loxodont. That's why she looks so cool with her beam sword. Too bad the elephant's got a really big axe though. She should have brought like better technology, let's be honest. Orcane. Orcane is a dolphin dog-like creature that uses bubbles and water to teleport and trick people. His movement is super unique, and I understand why Orcane is a fan favorite from this series, and was even featured in another indie platform fighter, Fraymakers. Rano. Rano is a frog monk with a poison bubble mechanic that traps enemies. While he does use his tongue a lot, most of the time he lets his fist do the talking. Crag. Crag is the original heavyweight fighter in Rivals. He's a huge beetle that can build blocks like Minecraft Steve, but not in a game-breaking way. He guards that huge rock wall, you know, the one that surrounds the forest in the Aether map. He just rolls around and guards it. Maple. Maple is like if Swiper from Dora never did crimes, but instead protected the forest. She's also got these cool plant friends. Raster. Raster is a bird that has multiple jumps and a bunch of cool wind mechanics. In the story, he's part of the Air Armada as one of the ace pilots, but he's a bit of a maverick. You get it? Because Maverick is an actual bird. Sometimes I make these jokes just for me. Fleet! Last but not least, we got Fleet. And Fleet is actually a character originally from a spin-off Aether game. So that's cool. She's a true zoner character equipped with a bow and arrow, which can be used to Call of Duty snipe people across the map. It's so satisfying to land. Okay, so that's all the characters. So once you find your main, you're gonna just win and win and win. Man, I suck at this game. I can barely wall jump and I don't even know how to move right. Like, I need help.
Hey, Macro, it's all right.
Wisely? Please guide us noobs to victory. Give us the sauce.
Rivals can be hard. There's a lot to learn, but it's totally worth it. Learning the mechanics makes this game so sick. And Rivals really goes out of its way to make the advanced tech easy to do, even if it is hard to master. So let's give you and the viewers a crash course, so you can focus on the fun part of when to mix up your opponents and not just how to hit the buttons. As a quick hello, I'm Wisely. I cast big tournaments for a bunch of different platform fighters like Melee and Rivals, but I also make videos about plat fighters and fighting games. Alright, so let's start with defense and recovery. It's not flashy, but it's what's going to keep you in the fight. Someone won't stop hitting your shield or throwing projectiles. Parry them by hitting the special button while shielding. It'll stun them for a free hit. I actually suggest setting up a parry button on your control scheme in the menu. When you're off stage, remember to wall jump. To do this, just hold towards the wall and hit the jump button. Or if you play with tap jump on, like our friend Macro here, you can also turn on tap jump for your wall jump in the controller settings too. To actually get to the wall, almost every character has some sort of horizontal movement with their side special or down special. And if you combine these two, you'll be living twice as long as before. Rivals does have edge guarding like in Melee, but between wall jumps, stalls, and a bunch of character-specific recoveries, you've got to put in some work before you can just grab the ledge. New to Rivals 2, Ledge Get Up Attack, and Pummel all have special versions now. Usually the special version is higher risk, higher reward option than the normal one. For Pummel specifically, this gets interesting, because you can guess which version your opponent is going to go for. Guess the same one, guess right, and you'll break out of the grab. If you're doing the grabbing, make sure to mix it up. Special pummels might be flashier, but landing either pummel removes the chain grab lockout. So sometimes a normal pummel is exactly what you need to keep a combo going. And finally, we've got the fun part. I know that you guys love movement in games, and Rivals has that in spades. You can edge cancel moves, change your momentum while doing specials, a bunch more, but the one everyone asks about is wave dashing. So, to wave dash, jump, and air dodge in a direction. And now put that together. Because Rivals buffers the input, it's a lot easier than in Melee. The real trick isn't doing the wave dash, it's knowing when to use it. If you want to know more, I've got a bunch of guides on my channel like Rivals 2 for Smashers, and I'm working on intros for each character. But I also just make videos and talk about Platfighter game design and the competitive scenes for each game. Hope that helped you guys, and I'll see you on Godai Delta.
Thank you, Wisely. I'm gonna try these things you taught me in-game. Okay, now let's see where I rank. Okay, so I'm gonna need to practice a bit more. So now that you truly understand this game, let's review it. This game is so well done. Each fighter feels unique, and the art style is polished and gorgeous. Seriously, the character designs are awesome. Even with just 10 characters, you get a ton of variety. The music for each stage is fire, while still feeling cohesive throughout. There's also a ton of stage variety, with each feeling great to play on and looking very different, so you're not just playing on the same maps over and over again. Also, I do love that when you're playing a match, the winning player can ban stages, and the losing player picks a stage after the ban. I just think it's implemented very well. The actual gameplay itself feels great. It's way better feeling than other Smash clones and not as overly complicated like Melee. It strikes a great balance in my opinion. Also, it has rollback netcode, so online feels so nice compared to Smash Bros and even other fighting games. The game is a fighting game first, meaning that it's built around being a competitive game, but there's still cool casual modes like the arcade mode that feels like classic Smash. You'll fight waves of enemies, evil bosses, and it even has a break the targets section. There's also a free-for-all mode online, which is more like a Loxodon win simulator, but still, it allows for more goofy antics to occur. And if you have friends, 2v2's a thing. It's pretty cool. And the developers have announced that there will be a full-on story mode added soon. So there's a lot to look forward to if you just like these characters a ton. But if you are competitive, then you're in luck, because Aether Studios has consistently supported and helped grow their competitive scene. The game is $30, which isn't a pro, but also not a con. I think it's a perfectly fair price. And that's because every single new character they add will 100% be free. They want to release at least 4 a year, but that will only happen if this game does well. The devs have said that we can expect every original fighter to make a return in this game. We might see the return of the guest fighters as well, and we can also expect new fighters, like La Reina, a grappler character that was actually made by a fan who won a contest. Seriously, these devs rock! I'm also hoping we get more guest fighters from indie games. Imagine seeing Hollow Knight in this game. A boy can dream. In the first game, there was a Steam workshop so people can make their own characters, and they want to bring that back as soon as possible. Obviously, going from 2D to 3D will make that a lot harder, but knowing these devs, they'll definitely make it work. All of this will happen a lot sooner and a lot faster if this game does well, both in their individual game sales and store purchases. Rivals will be selling cosmetics. Some of these skins can be bought with in-game currency that you can earn by playing, but other skins will require real money. It is purely cosmetic and won't affect gameplay. And honestly, if it helps this dev team accomplish their goals, I'm 100% on board with this. Also, let's be honest, some of these cosmetics are so cool. I think the UI could be a little bit better. The menu is a bit bland and could actually be a lot cooler if it copied Overwatch's original UI where a hero was featured in front of a different map. It would just give the menu more variety instead of it just being the same map every single time you load in. There's also no music during the break the target section. Like, I know it's a minigame in the arcade mode, but some of Smash's best music is actually from these sections. Just add a little something in there, you know? It felt weirdly empty. The actual menus have this loading wheel when you switch between each menu, and it just makes it feel so slow. I know there's a way to optimize the store. I mean, almost every other game with stores kind of do it faster. Trust me, it'll be worth fixing this. It makes the game feel more polished, and I think more people will feel inclined to want to browse the store more. I also think there should be like 2 more stages added that are just for fun. So far, all the stages are built for the competitive scene, which is fair, that's where they're leaning towards, but I wouldn't mind stages being built just for free-for-all, or silly party modes added for special events. I know most people won't use them, but if you're gonna have a free-for-all mode anyway, maybe go a little crazy with a stage or 2. Add a couple hazards, okay? It's not necessary at all, but it could be cool. Also, I know it's coming to consoles in 1 to 2 years, but like, I really think that they should be pushing for that to be a lot sooner, because it just feels like this was built to be on the Switch on the go. Like, I might buy a Steam Deck for this game alone. I'm kidding. Or am I? Overall, Rivals of Aether II blew me away. In my opinion, it's doing almost everything right, and its future looks very, very bright. It might be the first Smash competitor to actually get Melee players to play a different game, so that alone is kind of crazy. It might not get millions of players, but if I could help it get a few more fans, even just watching the competitive scene, I feel like I've done my part, because this game deserves to be a success. It's just a great game with an even greater team behind it. So I'll be giving Rivals of Aether II a 9.5 out of 10. You know what? Scratch that. Nah. Unlike most games, I genuinely believe that this team will deliver on all their promises and will make this game perfect. So this game is now in the Macro Hall of Fame. A 10 out of 10. But what do you think? Have you tried Rivals of Aether? If so, who's your main? And if not, who would you main? Be honest. Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you once again to Nico DeRico for sponsoring this video. Okay guys, I gotta go now because Macro the Science Bro just got picked up by PBS. So I'll catch you later. Ya noob.